It happened. Sorry. It happened. It was here.
It was a cover-up. I mean, it's evident.
They also took it one step further by saying that, and if you do talk about it, we will not only kill you, but your family, including your children.
He said, this is a big desert out here. Nothing but a desert. He said, we can take you out there and bury your bodies and nobody will ever find you.
We're racing with the undertaker. And a deathbed testimony is admissible in any court of law as physical evidence. The knowledge that we are not alone, that we are dealing with some phenomena that may indeed be off the planet, is so earth-shaking that it still requires that greater level of evidence.
A third party has come into possession of some items. If they pan out and go all the way through the due diligence process and come out at the end of the line authentic, then in my mind we have a significant proof for the Roswell event as an extraterrestrial event.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is February 18th, 2014. Here are your news updates for today. Let's go into recent stories of Before It Is News. Alrighty then. House collapses close to Cinco in Ripon, England. These are today's headlines. Now we're not going to respond. Okay. Let's move on. The internet is going so slow, it's almost impossible to do anything. We're going to have Dr. Bitman on. Maybe you can explain what's going on. Alright, let's go into E&E News, Energy News. U.S. Canada, TV, bald eagles are dying. Bald eagles are dying at a rate much higher than normal. And it's not from West Nile virus, as previously claimed. Now around 60 dead in Utah since December. What is going on? Facebook is coming up here. What is that? I do not like that. I'm just going to keep reporting. I'm having all kinds of things thrown at me. Must be on to something hot they don't want me to report on. Let's start over. TV, bald eagles dying at rate much higher than normal, and it's not from West Nile virus as previously claimed. Now around 60 dead in Utah since December. We feel helpless. We don't have a lot of answers. Also today, NBC, bizarre cluster of severe birth defects haunts experts in Pacific Northwest. I definitely believe something is going on. Maybe it just hit once and blew through. Officials refuse to say how many new cases in 2013. County on border of most polluted nuclear site in hemisphere. Also today, LA Times. Experts say radiological process may have forced material out of its container at U.S. nuclear site. It could be a mess. Officials say little about extent of problem. Levels remain too high to let in non-essential personnel. Air monitors not allowed to collect filters. Wow. Heads up. Alright, let's get rid of this. Alright. Moving on. Before it's news. BeforeIt'sNews.com. Kitty litter parasite found in Arctic whales. Wow. Also, hundreds of birds washed ashore in South Wales, UK. Also, well, it says UK. I'm going to assume it's South Wales. Alright. Urban bees making hives out of plastic. Proof orbs are not bugs. Heads up on that. Proof orbs are not bugs. Salente. It's raining bankers to protect the U.S. dominance. Now, there's been about 33 bankers now that have died. And the J.P. Morgan bankers are like jumping off of the tops of the buildings. Sounds like something right before the stock market crash, doesn't it? Very strange. Alright, moving on. ENE News. Japan, Fukushima, anonymous U.S. government nuclear expert. So they don't want to give his name. Fukushima radiation levels were astronomical, nothing containing release of radioactivity. It's an unmigrated, unshielded number. Monitor detected 100,000 sieverts per hour. 100,000 sieverts per hour. Not microsieverts, but sieverts. Heads up. Alright. I believe that's it. It is now 2 days down. 3 to go before the weekend. Kevin's right, it never fails. Alrighty then, take care, be prepared for anything, stay safe, check on your neighbors for those who are up north in the snow. Make sure everybody's still safe, everybody has food, no one's stuck somewhere out in the snow. Heads up, know your surroundings, no barbecues in the house. Alrighty then, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. On the flip side, it is getting a little warmer now in Florida. Whew. Alrighty then. Uh-oh. Max, what are you doing? Okay, you be a good boy. You're not doing anything wrong, are you? He like creeped up and stopped. He's sitting on a plastic bag for some reason. Max, what are you doing? You're not doing anything wrong, are you? He's just watched. He said, hi, Tippy. Up here, Tippy. Up, up, up. Oh, say hello real quick. One day I'll have to play Max saying hello from behind. Oh, hello. There's the camera there. Oh, thank you. Max, you want to come up? Come on, Max. Tippy, Tippy. Let Max come up. Let Max come up. His turn. Tippy, stay. Max, come. Oh, he's too couch potato fat now to even jump up, right? Is that what's going on? See the pretty dog? Yes, thank you. You see the pretty dog on TV? Hello. You say hello. Okay, thank you, Tiffy. Alright. Everybody got it? Yes. Don't get jealous. Alright. See you tomorrow on the flip side. Stay safe. Take care of your pets. Make sure they're inside and they're safe. Don't let them go out in the snow. And I never heard whatever happened with that snow that stunk like plastic. I never saw any updates on that. That disappeared. And also the Russian satellite got two conflicting reports. Either it crashed and burned up in Saudi Arabia, or it burned up in the atmosphere. All of a sudden there's just really no definite thing of what's going on. There's footage. You can look that up. I didn't want to bother to capture it, but there's footage of it going across Saudi Arabia. There's also news articles that says it burned up in the atmosphere. Couldn't find anything on good old space.com. So Max is hamming it up now. He's hamming it up. There he goes. What are you saying, Max? Yeah, he's upset too. He didn't get to hear the final stories of the satellite, nor he doesn't know what happened to what about the big asteroid that disappeared. What is really going on? Someone's really dropping the ball. Alright? Heads up. Stay safe. See you tomorrow.
People like John Moore and Ann Morrison and myself, you're not going to wait to hear about the flu and about the ice age and about the death of the oceans and about the radioactive salmon and about the native peoples freaked out and not want to touch any fish and it's actually their main food, or the death of the polar bears and the seals and the sea lions, and huddled humanity along the coast, terrified that they want to go picnicking on the beach, or they want to go surfing, not realizing they're breathing in and showering with death. So, and tell us more about what's coming, because I can tell people, you need to get it out there. You need to not only get the truth, but you won't absorb the truth through your spiritual skin unless you have Jesus in you and you have the faith and hope that doesn't come made by man, but made by the Father as a gift, once you deposit love. And in Valentine's Day, I'm telling you today out there, we need to repent. That's how we're going to get faith and hope. And then we'll accept the truth that Ann Morrison and Ann John are talking about, and all of the wonderful men and women in our military, in our various agencies. Some of them are doing some pretty dark things, but there's good people everywhere. And even good politicians like Mr. Cruz in Texas, who wants to raise questions about what the heck is going on. And why are we doing it? So, Ann, tell us more about what's happening.
Well, there are a lot of things happening. I want to mention the storm over in Britain. They had a red flag warning. They're having tremendous flooding and high winds as high as 100 miles per hour. So,
yeah, the latest I heard, it was actually sustained winds in many cases of 108. And, of course, breaking records all around the Northern Hemisphere of 130-year records for snowfall. They literally, like Robert Felix has said, who'll be on next Tuesday, they have moved the weather from Chicago to Atlanta. That's quite a jump, isn't it?
Well, you can see that in the jet stream. The jet stream normally, the northern jet stream usually circles the North Pole at 60 degrees north latitude. And it's circling at about, well, I would call it 30. And
so, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah,
45.
Yeah, and they call it polar vortex. It's really just moving the jet stream up, down 30 degrees, which means we are in the cusp of a maybe not just a Maunder type cooling period, but a true full force ice age.
My cake is in the oven. Take it out. Oh,
that's good.
Sorry.
Don't want your cake to go while you're on air. So, yeah, I think John, you're there too, right? John Moore.
I'm here.
Yeah. So you hear about the cake in the oven. Well, while we're dealing with the oven, why don't you give us an update on what's going on? And Ann can take care of her cake, and we'll have her back in a second.
Okay. Well, Dr. Bill, thank you. Many of your listeners and my listeners are students of history. I ran across a book that was only published 6 weeks ago. I'll give the title twice slowly since it's kind of a long title. Transevolution, The Coming Age of Human Deconstruction by Daniel Estulin, E-S-T-U-L-I-N.
I heard an interview with him and Alex Jones, and Mr. Estulin is brilliant, and he's been to many of these meetings, including the Bilderbergers, and you might think this is sci-fi. You get a bunch of sci-fi writers for Hollywood or the European film festivals. No, these are world leaders, satanically energized, and this is what they believe. This is scary, crazy stuff.
He answered. Now, I'm a somewhat of a student of history. I don't spend all my time doing it, but I've wondered for quite a while, where did all the wealthy families of ancient Rome, where did they go to? They didn't just disappear. Well, it turns out, according to Mr. Estulin, quite a few of those very wealthy, wealth beyond belief, Roman families around 300 AD or so, went to the island of Venice, which is, in fact, an island in the extreme northeast corner of Italy. And that power and influence of those families has been behind the scenes influencing world events for the last 17 centuries.
Right, they moved from the Venezia, the black nobility, to the area of the city square mile of the city of London.
Absolutely.
I call it Londonenstein. How's that?
So these families in wealth and power have basically been uninterrupted for 2 millennium.
Right. If you actually look at a statue of Nero, he is a absolute dead ringer for a twin, the great-great-granddaddy for Bill Clinton. Gives you an example. Welcome back to the NutriMedical Report. So let's finish with John's report. John, what's the latest news you're hearing from, as I say, Tonto with your ear against the rail or the ground to hear what they're doing with the buffalo? What's happening with the good people in our military and our different agencies without giving out names or ways of tracking back to them? What's the latest, what I call dark news from the other side?
Well, I just got a report about 4 hours ago that my hometown, St. Louis County, Missouri, the St. Louis County Police Department is getting the same armored vehicles that are used in Iraq. They're called MRAPs. That's an acronym. Special heavy armored wheeled vehicles that can withstand an explosive device underneath them with no harm to the people inside. They're also purchasing 50 caliber rifles, which are also used in Iraq and stand for a long-distance sniping. And that's happening as we speak.
Now, the questions would be, well, I'm going to go back to my, today's my day before my birthday, which is midnight Valentine's tonight. So as a 62-year-old, I'm now a 2.5-year-old again. I'm going to ask, the daddy questions are, Daddy, why would they buy those bullets? And why would they need those vehicles? This isn't Iraq. This is Missouri or North Carolina or California. And I thought the people of this country were nice people. I didn't think they needed those kind of vehicles or bullets. Daddy, why would they do that?
Well, they're doing it because there's a perceived need.
Right. And would that mean that the American public has now been perceived as an enemy combatant?
Well, I don't see where there's a second choice.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's one of those questions which is a multiple choice question, but there's only A. There's not A, B, C, D, or A and B, or C and D. There's only a question where the only answer is A, and all you have to do is put a little dot on the A, and you get it right.
That's right. And these, I've been in this career path for 42 years now. Going all the way back to the Nixon administration, the LEAA, Law Enforcement Assistance Administration. I've been seeing this over the past 4 decades, the continued militarization and equipping of armed police like the military. It's been ramped up dramatically, though, the last 7-8 years since Obama has come into office.
Well, it's not just Obama, by the way. I have contacts in Alberta. When they had that big floods and major problems in lower Alberta, there's a town down there where they kicked out the 100 and some local RCMP officers, and they brought in 200 SWAT team type RCMP, and they went house to house and literally even kicked down doors that they weren't locked, because people out in Alberta don't lock their doors. Kicked them down, came in, armed, pinned people to the floor, and took all their guns. and this is in the middle of a power outage. And there was no excuse for taking their guns. You're in a rural area where you better have guns because you got wolves and all kinds of mountain lions and everything. So these idiots actually went in there. Now it's a real big deal in Parliament because it's a little different system. Believe it or not, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which was based on the American Constitution, it's an inferior document because it doesn't say the rights come from the Creator God, but at least it templates the idea of that you have rights. We haven't had activist judges that have literally made your rights worthless with the Constitution, which is many of the things that have been done lately. But they're getting those RCMP officers that did this and the RCMP commanders, they're going to get fried and flambéed. And Canadians, by the way, they just a few weeks ago withdrew the gun registry system because so many Canadians buried their guns. They had such zero participation. They realized that they can't enforce the law. Canadians just gave them the middle finger and said, hell no, I'm not going to bring my guns in to register them. You go and take a long leap off a short pier. And so what people need to understand is it's not just happening here. It's happening in Uganda, South Africa, India, where they're doing biometrics for everybody on the planet to have an iris scan and digital fingerprints and biometric facial scan. This scheme by these globalists in one version or another is everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's Beijing, Shandong, Shanghai, Russia, Sochi, Georgia. It doesn't matter where it is. The globalist banksters are trying to crush humanity. And they have these giant armaments with a population is stupid. Now, I'm going to make a statement here that people need to grasp. I don't care how many, fancy, heavy, Bearcat tank, armed personnel carriers they move, or how many 50 caliber weapons. That I know that the Marines, the police officers, and the sheriff's officers are going to take their badges off, or they're going to be, get a command down structure under the sheriff. And it doesn't matter if it's a foreign invader or federalized police or anybody, they're not going to have martial law. So when I hear people say that you're going to have martial law, it will only happen under three circumstances. The American public has to agree to it. There has to be a perceived danger that if you don't agree to it, the dangers are so high, whether it's an airborne plague or an EMP or some other thing, attack from Martians, I guess. And the third thing you have to have is that the idea that they think they're going to lose more by not participating with the government. And most people don't trust the government anymore. They know that locally, their sheriff, their neighbor that goes to the gun range with them, they know their food supplies. Even the government said if you have more than 2 weeks, they can steal it. They can apprehend your food supplies if you have more than 2 weeks of food in your larder, your pantry. So we have to understand is that the ugly face of the Draco-reptilian managed or avatared government has taken off its mask, and people are stealing the ugliness of transnational globalist Satanist rule. And they don't want this anymore. And it doesn't matter how many weapons they have, they cannot succeed. They can't. They might get the first veteran, but even in the state of New York, when they tried to institute a law 2 years ago that they go host to host and pull veterans' automatic weapons in the state of New York, where Governor of New York, Cuomo, said it was a good idea to do this. And of course, Mayor Blomberg from New York City was another nut. And the SWAT teams and the Special Forces Delta said, please, we beg you, on bended knee with their flak jackets on, ski masks, and Kevlar helmets, do not do this. The first home will take away a vet. The second home, a lot of our guys, even with armor-piercing protective body armor on, are going home to see Jesus. They're not going home to see Mama.
Well, Doctor,
and they know that.
There's no helmet on the planet that will stop a common deer rifle slug. That helmet does not exist.
Exactly. So what we have to understand here is, and I have these kind of weapons right in my place here in Vista, California, and I've had death threats, but I've stopped them cold because they know that I'm serious. What people need to understand is the idea of martial law is a wet dream of Satanists to try to run our government, and they want to frighten us into what I call the frightocracy. They want to make us fearful so we'll capitulate and bend over and take it. We're not. We're not going to take Obamacare. We're not going to take a cryptocurrency. We're not going to take pollution of the oceans and non-monitoring of our food, air, and water. We're not going to take any of this crap anymore. We're not. We're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. And we are Joshua Christians, which means when the giants are there, when God commands you to go into the land of the giants, God says, cut off their Achilles tendon. When their head gets close enough to the ground, behead them. And that's what we're going to do.
Well, I think that what the police are getting ready for is their battle with the gangs. They say that when...
that's crap. The gangs are totally clear. Listen, I worked with the Federal Center, the guys in Denver, and they're doing war game simulations. I found it from my sources that Long Beach, California, which is called Costco, which is a Chinese overseas shipping company, and they have it in Freeport, Bahamas as well, is shipping guillotines and all the automatic weapons and everything else you can imagine for the gangs, because the gangs are, in a sense, proxies, just like Al-Qaeda in America, to terrorize the public. So if they say they're going to fight the gangs, that's more of a called Nimrod and his little techniques where you create a catastrophe and bring in his special forces to take them out. It's all crap. Welcome back. So I go a little bit over the edge sometimes. When I have a day like Valentine's Day, I get a little ranty. But I'm sure, we try to speak what I call love and spirit words. We're trying to tell you, yeah, this is freaky, this is extremely bad, but God is our God. And I'll tell you right now, now's the time to really get down on your knees and pray to God. People should not get extra comfortable and think, well, that's really ugly, I watched it on the news. No, it's coming to your city, your town. And, of course, they're trying to make it look more like Gattaca and more like Brave New World than the 1984, because they want to make it a nice New World Order. They don't want you to kind of vomit when you know what's coming. They don't want you to freak out and all your hair stand up in your body. They don't want you to go and grasp your kids and hug them because you realized that troops are coming to separate you to different camps. They don't want you to realize that the Ice Age is going to drive people out of their homes in the north and stop food supply, or that the food that you eat from the North Pacific may be so radioactive. You're going to get a letter in the mail or a talk from your doctor who's going to call you, that test came back, Mrs. Such and Such or Mr. X. And I have bad news. You have 3 months to 6 months to live. You better get your affairs in order. And that's going to be, unfortunately, a very common occurrence here, even if we don't have a major catastrophe, but major ones are coming. The superquake's coming. War to the Middle East is coming. Conflicts with Russia and Japan and China and all these countries is coming. And not a period of peace, but we're being degraded step by step. Even our children. I remember talking to the senior Air Force Academy psychologist where the Top Guns get trained in the early 80s when they brought in the Atari system for training air pilots in order to be able to use these systems for simulating warfare. They were afraid of turning them into what called cybernetic junkies, because every time you kill, you get a dopamine surge. Well, we have, 3D warfare games like Ghost Hunters and everything else out there in these games, and they're so realistic. These kids are addicted to electronic drugs. And then we have, people they think it's bigger than life. Blockbuster movies, books, television series. People aren't in reality anymore. They don't have any real hope. They have nothing. Even if they call themselves Christians, they're silent. They're getting milk and cookie type Christianity, not Delta Special Forces Christianity, where you have to hear and do what God says. And in an unpleasant time like this, before the fall of Santorini and Akatori, when the Thera was going to blow, when there was lots of prophetic warnings it was going to happen, the people didn't listen. And they don't listen now because they're empty. They're empty, hollow people, I call it. And the only way to fill you up is to fill you up with the love of the Most High God. John, and it's desperate when you can't get people to listen and all they want to do is spit on you when you try to tell them the truth, because it's so ugly, the truth. They don't want to believe it. They just walk away like bad children. Or they try to make ad hominem attacks because it's so nasty. They say, well, you've got to be psychotic for my sake.
Well, Esculin reinforces what you're saying, Doctor, in his book, Trans-Evolution, that television has molded and created the reality for the majority of people, not only in this country, but much of the world, unfortunately.
Exactly, and your comments.
Well, we're certainly seeing the plagues. I just want to mention the H1N1. John had a guest on his show on Monday who said that he was a doctor, and he said he'd never seen a middle-aged person who was healthy die of the flu in his entire practice, and he'd been practicing for over 20 years. And that makes it all the more noteworthy that the H1N1 is attacking people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Right. Well, I just I put it in the Google News, for example, and it just even across Canada, we're getting deaths, babies, young people, 20s, 30s. In other words, we're not talking about fragile older people that are in death's door or in their waiting room. We're talking about young, healthy, vigorous people are croaking.
Oh, by the way, did you know that they don't count people who die of the flu who are over 65 years of age? They're not included in the flu death statistics.
Yeah, I know. They figure, well, you're good as dead anyway.
Anyway,
you're good as dead.
What happened this week was that there was a case of a cat, 2 cats, and they were in Calgary, Alberta, and they died. And the veterinary was pretty astute, I think, and he sent in their samples, and come to find out they died of the pneumonic form of H1N1. Now, they assume that the route of transmission was from the humans to the cat. He doesn't say what happened to the humans because he's a veterinary.
People are pretty close to their cats, so they're cuddling their cats. The cats sleep in their bed. So, yeah, now it means that we know that there's a repository that can be in animal populations like cats or ferrets. We know that the H5N1 flu is in every bird population on the planet now, too, which means you got mixing vessels in the wild or in domestic animals that now can carry a version of the virus, including a low-grade chronic infection that can actually create new recombinants. That means future waves can be even more dangerous than the current one.
Well, they can't even find where the H1N1 is they can't find the repository. This pneumonic.
Well, they know there's
They're just hovering in the sky, going very slowly. There's about 8 of them. They're not stars.
God, there's something purple. It was green. My wife saw it green, and now it's purple. We do not know what it is. Look at the sky over there. I kid you not, right, babe? Yeah. It was green, and it came straight down. We thought it was a meteor. Look, it's purple. Now it's green. It's green and going straight up. Just let this, look, now it's hovering. Don't say nothing, let's just record it. Oh! It's descending at an extremely alarming rate of speed. That is, get my bearings here, this is really startling. And it went out. Oh, it's purple again. Yeah, it goes purple. That's, man, I'm rattled. It's northwest. Went behind the tree. Look at it. Now it turned green again. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Oh, it's flying. It's now flying right above our fence line, going east, and it stopped and vanished. Now it's purple. Look at this, the sky. I've never seen anything like that here. I was born and raised here. Oh my goodness. I don't want it to be too shaky. There's that planet again up there. That's east.
I think it's a... Are you recording?
Hang on. Now it's directly north of our house. I'll try to get this uploaded. My goodness, man. What time is it, babe? About 5. It's about 5:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Almost 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And doesn't that seem late for the sun to be setting? It just vanished. And now let's get on that. Where? It vanished. Show me. I don't see it.